Hi, welcome to Living in BC. I'm Heidi and this is Dave. Today we're going to talk about neighborhoods and finding the perfect neighborhood for you and your family. Sometimes you are searching and you find a house in where you want to live, but you're like, this is not what I was looking for or hoping for, because you kind of have this checklist and you might have like, it needs to have a cul-de-sac. It needs 3 stories. I want a basement suite. And you kind of, oh, I want a white kitchen. And you kind of like have this little checklist for yourself. And you realize kind of like as you're working through it all and you're seeing homes that not everything in your checklist is going to necessarily be presented to you. So it's kind of like, how do you find that neighborhood and that perfect house?
Yeah, when you're starting your house search, we often, when we first sit down with clients, is we recommend and we ask questions about where do you want to live, the type of house, the number of bedrooms, square footage. That's all important as well. But the first thing we want to know is, do you know where you want to live? And if you're moving to the Fraser Valley from either Vancouver or west of the Fraser Valley or from another province, then we want to help you find out where that is that you might want to live. We're going to ask you for characteristics of the neighborhood that you're looking for, proximity to work or
Or like
school.
schools, maybe you want your kids to walk from school. Like,
Yeah.
how close is that going to be
Yeah.
safe?
So what we've found through not only helping lots of clients, but also through our own experiences, is shopping the neighborhood and pinpointing a neighborhood or multiple neighborhoods that you'd be happy in would take first priority. Then we look for the type of house. Now, I just want to say before you get into our experience, there are situations where people aren't super concerned about the neighborhood. They know what town they're going to live in. Say they have chosen Sardis and they don't really care where. That does happen, and that's fine. But majority of clients, what they're looking for is they're looking for a certain feel or a certain proximity, as we've already mentioned. And so we really want to talk about today the importance of finding the right neighborhood and then making the home. You can always renovate or change homes to make them fit you better. So why don't you tell them about our experience?
Actually had a client, they moved from Mission out here to Abbotsford, and they knew the area that they wanted to live in. And again, they had kind of like a checklist of what specific qualities they wanted the home to have. And as we were looking, it's really hard because, as you guys all know, you're shopping for what's available. Yes, we can door knock and we can ask, like, hey, are you willing to sell? But there does come a point where you are looking at the inventory that exists in the moment.
Yeah.
And I had this really great, like, there was a house that had been for sale and had been for sale for so long. And we can talk about that maybe in a different episode as to like how that, can put people off because it's been listed for so long.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the house. Like, it wasn't like I looked at the house and was like, well, that's the house. Like, this is the winner. It was to them, I said to them, like, this is where you want to live. It was amazing. Like, it was on a cul-de-sac. It had the suite that they needed. It was in great catchments of schools. Like, it was just everything apart from like the certain checklists they wanted in the home. This house had. It had the bedrooms. It had a flat, beautiful yard, fenced, like, and finally it was like, let me take you. Let's just walk it.
So were they
let me show it.
Seeing it?
Yeah, like they were just kind of like, this isn't what we're looking for.
Because of the photos?
It was the photos, and it was just I think it was the layout. It was a 2-story, and it just wasn't in their mind as like what they envisioned their future home to be. And I was just like, but let's just walk it. Sometimes you just need to get that feel and you need to go. And I mean, to be honest, the pictures did not do the home justice at all.
Which we've mentioned in another episode.
Yeah. But when we went there and you drive it, the cul-de-sac is just gorgeous because it has the tall trees that have like, flourished. And it was all like newer aged homes, but it had that like old kind of feel to it, the way that the street was done. And they were just starting their family. And I was like, just imagine a flat driveway, the cul-de-sac. You can have your kids out there. You're not worried about cars flying down.
Yeah.
It just had so many good things. And then when we walked it, they were like, right, we can redo this kitchen. Actually, I like the countertops. I just don't love the cabinetry.
Right.
And, we talked about, well, you get them sprayed. You don't even have to redo the whole cabinetry and put in that expense. Pick a lesser expense. And as they kind of walked it and stuff, they were like, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm glad we saw it. They ended up buying it. and they're still there to this day.
Yeah.
I hope they're still happy with it. But yeah, it was just it just about selling that. So with actually our last 2 houses, Dave knew I'm going to go 2 houses back. You knew the area you really wanted to live. Like you were like, I want to live here. Yeah. And we also knew that we wanted a suite, but we knew we wanted it done in like a 3-story home. And I give myself credit that I'm one of those people who are like the 10% who can see past like whatever you displayed. I can like look beyond it and be like, okay, I'm going to change this or I'm going to do this. I didn't have it with this house.
No, you didn't.
And you took me there, and it just, first of all, I was a no, which is so weird. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't, to be fair, it didn't have a lot of amazing characteristics it was hard lived in.
It was lived in hard, and it's also really hard to view a home if the homeowners stay. I always find that makes it a little uncomfortable, and then I'm walking too briskly past because I'm like, oh, I don't want to disturb them.
It feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, and so I just kind of like, maybe I'm not taking the time to like sit in the room and like feel it. But I think I just like, I didn't love the exterior of the home.
Yeah.
It had like the qualities. It was like the 3-story. It had the walkout backyard I wanted for the kids.
Definitely the neighborhood.
It was the neighborhood we
used
wanted.
To drive that neighborhood. There's like 7 streets in this neighborhood.
Yes.
And we would drive it every 4 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little longer, but like not even.
It was kind of like the dream. Like, we want to live up here. Yeah. This is where we want to live.
Yeah.
And we loved that it backed onto like a forest. There was no one behind. Like, it had like such great things about it. Yeah. But we left, and I was like, yeah, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't think so. Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I'm just making sure we are recording. We're good. Just pick back up where you just were.
But it was Dave who.
Just go back. Just about you leaving. So we'll cut. And then now just where you were like, we left, you're like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we left, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't do it. Like, that house just isn't for me. But it was you.
I really wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw past it. You were just like, you were the one who was trying to encourage me.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I've always wanted to live in that area.
Yeah.
It has a view over the whole Fraser Valley. You can actually see on really clear days, you can see all the way out to the ports. Like, you can see the full way. I grew up living in Abbotsford. This home is in Abbotsford. I've always wanted to live up there. And there was a few. So for me, the neighborhood was a check.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, some of the hard requirements we had was we needed a walkout backyard because we had little boys. We only had 2 at the time.
Yeah, they were little. So we had come from a house where it was a 2-story, and we actually lived on the main upstairs, and then downstairs we had a suite.
Yeah.
And I didn't love that I always had to go down the stairs like with the kids.
You couldn't see them if they were outside.
I couldn't see them. It's just actually the design of this house specifically because we had more frontage and more side yard than we did have like a backyard.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't something that I could just like have the kids. They were really young. And they couldn't really just be out playing and I have to run in to use the washroom, or I want to run in and do, like, it just would never happen. And so I always said, like, I just really want, actually my sister had that style of home. And it was just like, you could just run in for a second just to grab something, or if a kid needs to use the bathroom, you're not like hauling everyone up a flight of stairs, like over. It was just like more conducive to the age of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So we left, and it was something that we didn't agree upon.
Yeah.
Which we'd had in other homes as well.
Yeah.
And after some time and just keeping look, we actually saw other houses in between and keeping looking at it. And we weren't realtors at this time. So our realtor saw that it checked a lot of the boxes, particularly the neighborhood. Not a lot of homes were coming up for sale in this neighborhood. And
or even at that time, because it was a down market. Yeah.
Yeah. So he even said at that time, why don't we just go back and see it again? And I can't remember if they were there the second time or not.
I don't remember.
We went back and saw it again.
Yeah.
And I think you had a little bit more of an open mind that time too.
Yeah, I think it just like maybe that settling of it.
Well, we talked a lot about how it was the neighborhood again. To get back to what we're talking about, it was the neighborhood. It had that walkout backyard.
Yeah.
It had a suite potential.
Well, did it? Yeah. So it didn't have a basement suite,
but it had potential.
But it had the potential. Yeah. Like we were told,
it was actually
suitable. Yes.
It was roughed in for a suite too.
Right.
So it had a lot of the check marks, but as Heidi was alluding to, sometimes the house isn't visually appealing. It had dark paint. It didn't show well.
And like they lived in really hard in it, like holes in walls. And
toilet was shifted, remember, and did one.
I don't
work.
I think one toilet worked in the whole house.
4 bathrooms.
Yeah, and then it was like the lights didn't even work. Like they had like them hanging, and like some of them didn't switch on. Even door handles were like off, and they had like plastic. A lot of like, say, like going up the stairs. I remember it was like plastic, and like it just like it was so hard for me to like walk through this and just be like, okay. But like we talked about it, like we'll paint it. We're going to redo the flooring. We're going to get new toilets. Like it was just like going through all the steps. And then I think when we revisited the home, like that next time, it was like I was able to like take that breath, like come back to it and be like, okay. And the yard, although the yard was a walkout, it was everything we wanted. They didn't have it in a good state. So it was like, oh man, it was going to take so much work. But Dave, if you ever were to see like our home and you ever in the summer, you see we have beautiful baskets and stuff. It's not me. It's him. I do not have a green thumb. That's him. And so he is able to like envision yards and, oh, you can do this and we'll level out this piece and get rid of this.
I think the most important part when we went to see that home was that we sat down and we revisited our checklist.
Yes.
And I know I'm getting redundant, but the neighborhood and the location, it checked that.
It did.
So you came back, I think you came back the second time, not looking to find reason for it not to work, but trying to find a way to make it to work.
Yes. And in the end, the house was beautiful.
Yeah.
If we could taken that house and moved it to like where we live now, we would have done that. Like we loved so much about it. And like we really did do it to us, like who we were, and we changed a lot of the things.
We put a suite in.
Yeah.
We lightened all the walls.
Like we painted it. We redid floors. We did bathrooms. We redid the kitchen.
Fixed
like
up the yard.
Yeah, like it was beautiful.
Painted the outside.
Yeah.
That
but when we painted the outside, man, that made a difference. Like people would literally stop by and be like, is this the same house? And just like we didn't paint the siding, but siding can be painted, vinyl siding, and same with gutters. So keep that in mind. But then that house, I always feel like I always present it to you like houses are good for a moment in time. Mm-hmm. I'm not someone, but probably because I grew up that way, like we moved all the time just because my dad's job and stuff, and we lived in different homes. I look at homes as like, this is good for this moment, like this in time.
And stages.
Yeah, it's like a stages in your life, right? Because not every house is going to be, although that house we can go back now, it would work for this stage in our life as well. But then there came a point where the kids got a little bit older and they wanted to like go out and ride their bikes. They wanted to rollerblade. They wanted to play street hockey, and it was on a hill. And so I used to go out with my cones and like place them there and sit out on my lawn chair and be like, slow down to like all the cars and stuff that were out there. It wasn't on a cul-de-sac. It was like a through road. And just didn't love that anymore. I wanted a place where I could send the kids out in the backyard and that was okay. But I mean like where they could ride their bikes, where they could play street hockey, where they could play basketball. And just like, instead of me always having to drive to a park, and there wasn't a playground nowhere near it. And I tried. I went to the city. I did my petitions. I tried real hard. But yeah, so it came a point where I was like, I just feel like it's not quite working. And our neighbors were awesome. Mm-hmm. And
they're still both there.
Yeah.
Both sides.
And we still friends with the set today. Yeah. Like we actually loved our neighbors. Like it was great. But our kids are getting to the point where they play baseball. And even like little, they would hit like balls constantly out of our yard and into our neighbors. And everyone was really gracious about it. Like, yeah, you can come back, or they throw them back over the fence. But it came to the point I said to him, like, it's not fun when every time I'm throwing a kid a ball, they're hitting it into somebody else's yard, because just the way the yards were set up, like it was just too tight. I was like, I just need more for the kids. Like I need more space. And then we started searching. And so backtrack again to like where I mentioned this house that we live in now, saw it on the market, was like, no, finally took that step to like drive down here. And we are on the cul-de-sac, so it's a dead end, right? And we're like one of the houses on there. Man, if you've never lived on a cul-de-sac, there's something to be said for that. I think, like, and we wouldn't know. I guess you would know because you grew up on a cul-de-sac. I did not. So like I didn't understand really like the draw of like what's so great, but oh wow, it's great.
Yeah. And this house was actually a test the other way. So when we drove down, it's on a lane, And as we drove down the lane, I said to myself, I know we're going to buy this house, regardless of what the inside looks like. As long as there's no catastrophes inside, we're going to be buying this house. I knew it checked all of your boxes, and we agreed on the boxes. But I didn't love. There was quite a few things I didn't love about this house. The way it presents from the street, I didn't love. It was pretty. It was original still inside. So in my opinion, it was hard for me to see past a lot of the what I considered issues. Luckily, we did a role reverse, and Heidi was the one that when we left showed me all of the check marks for location that it had, and that was 7.5 years ago.
Yeah, like we were so lucky that so we didn't know the neighbors, but we'd recognize them in life because they all had kids, just through sports and stuff. And I am very overprotective of my kids. One thing you'll know about me or learn about me. And the two older boys, so that everyone was out on the street. There was like, I don't know, like 6 kids maybe that were out there on the cul-de-sac. And they had like, they were having like a fun day where it was like all their bikes were out and all their scooters, and they had chalk everywhere. Maybe, you know what? Maybe if I was selling, I'd be like, whoa, can we hold back on leaving that stuff out? But for us, it was like, this is amazing because we had little kids. And so we had pulled up and we had talked to the neighbors and stuff. And we had still had, our youngest was really little. I think he was 6 months when we bought here. They were like, just go in and view. Like, we'll leave the kids. They'll be in the front. Like, we're all out here. And I was like,
we met them at indoor soccer a couple times.
So we did know kind of like who they were. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, which is so weird for me because I never leave my kids like with someone I didn't know really well. But I just felt like, okay, yes. And then when we were walking in here, I remember us being upstairs and I said to Dave, I'm like, isn't it weird? Like, have you even thought for 1 second that you're nervous of our kids playing in the front? Like, because we lived on like a busier street. It wasn't busy, but it was 3 road. And he was like, right? Like, I had no concern about a car coming up or I don't know, like, where are they going to go? Like, it's like a cul-de-sac. There's nowhere to go. And it was just like, oh man, that peace of like, and that comfort. And the house, listen, it has great bones. We love the bedroom. We love the layout. So I love that the bedrooms are upstairs. I love that the main living is on the main. And then we still we do have a suite downstairs. And just like extra space. And it has all the space that we needed. And what Dave's referring to is like not loving the home.
There was
it wasn't our style.
There was baby blue bedrooms. There was a pink bedroom. And this was when like the light colors we were going away from those like
grays,
browns
beiges,
and beiges, the earth tones to more of that like kind of white overall tone.
Yeah.
And we had seen some new houses that were all that new white with flat stock, and it had profiled moldings everywhere, and it was just, you know, it was that like
even the ceiling,
slat.
The ceiling was like splatted,
the texture.
That,
like, that skinny slat flooring, and it just had a lot of really old school, and it was very boxy when we before we took the house out.
we had and like the kitchen, they had redone the kitchen, which was lovely. It just wasn't our taste, so that was hard too because you're like, I don't want to redo a kitchen that's like somewhat newer, but it was like, it's not my style. But it was the house. Like, it was just like, it was the neighborhood. It was the house proximity of everything we wanted to be.
It's the house that we were supposed to raise our kids in.
Yes.
Is the way I look at it.
Yes.
And the friendships that we've created on the street.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You know, I think again, I walked up and I would have been a no if you weren't so sure about it.
Yeah. I think you actually... So he put me through the ringer as in like I was like, let's make an offer like right now.
It was expensive on our budget too. It was high on our budget.
He was like, no. I think you made like me wait like a week before you agreed.
We talked to our realtor at that time, and I said, you know, I don't think this house will ever be worth more than it is right now. Was I wrong about that? Again, not a realtor at the time, so hold that against me.
So like in the end, we had the ceilings, we had them scraped, but they were like floated, so they go over top of it. Obviously, we had the whole house painted. We redid all the flooring. We actually redid all the fireplaces because they were like the old school. So we had like the nice flat gas fireplaces put in. The kitchen, we actually sprayed the cabinetry and then redid the backsplash and stuff like that, and handles to update it. What else did I mean, we've done so much. We did take out a wall between the kitchen and the family room.
Replace the front door and the window lights.
Yeah, that made a huge difference. So the exterior of the house, definitely not our taste. And we actually had someone come and meet with us and say, like, we said, listen, like, it's not us. How can we do it? We don't have this enormous budget to redo the exterior of the home. And they were great. Her name's Holly. I can always share the number if anyone is interested. And she
We've used
literally,
her a few times here.
yeah, she literally came and met me and went through it all and was like, okay, you don't like this because, and she was able to name it for me, what I didn't like about it. Everything was river rock. Okay, we're gonna take off the river rock here. You're gonna paint this. You're gonna paint this color, and you're gonna put a swing. Like, it just, she was able to see my vision and help me bring that to life. And what we were so lucky was, so Dave and I removed the rock by ourselves. I don't know if I'd do that again, but the river rock.
Dave removed the rock.
Well, okay, I helped pull it. No, lift it. Well, whatever. I didn't actually hammer it out. But it was real wood underneath.
Yeah,
we were going to put
beams, which was what we were going to do.
We were just going to, like, she walked us through, like, how you can make it look like a cedar beam. And that was our plan. They existed underneath the river rock. Like, who covered that up?
Yeah.
And then she even walked us through, like, the front door. So front doors are expensive. If you never look at doors are so expensive. But she walked us through how to keep, like, the cost down. So, like, for example, I wanted a wood door, and you can actually have a door where you take your old door and they match it to the new door, and they cut the same. Yeah, they cut the same hinges, everything. So that literally you take that door and you slide it on. And we had that old school gold glass that, like, red. And she was like, oh no, you just call this company. They cut them out, and then they can replace it with, like, plain glass. Oh my goodness, what a world of difference all that made.
I didn't know this, but the windows beside your door are called door lights. And so you can have them changed. You don't have to change the whole door set. So what we did is they were half the size they are now. So we had those cut out. We had new ones put in with no built-in like inset hardware. And then the door was a template cut to our old door. Yeah. So all in all, I think it took us like an hour to make the change.
Oh, it's like, and I'm talking, like, made a world of difference.
Yeah, it completely changed the feeling of the home and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So in the end, what we're trying to say today is, once you've nailed the neighborhood and the main things you're looking for, are you looking for, main floor living? Are you looking for living up? Are you looking for a house with a suite? Set one or two parameters that they're non-negotiable for you. And once you have those set, it's not easy, but try and have more flexibility when you go see homes. When you work with us, one of the things we're going to do is understand what your non-negotiables are, and then we're going to set search parameters for you. If there's nothing available at the time of our initial search, the best thing we can do for you is we set an automated search up for you. And in there, we can put in keywords, neighborhoods. We can get in specific by street. We can draw a line on a map or a shape on a map that says only show when new homes hit in this area, whether it's Sandy Hill, Sumas Mountain, Central Abbotsford, wherever it is that you want. Maybe your kids are going to go to Yale and play baseball or softball.
Yeah.
Whatever those parameters are, we can set an automated search for you. And then when that home comes out, it automatically gets sent to you. So now it's just hit the market and you don't miss the boat on that.
Yeah. And because of Dave and our experiences, we have actually owned quite a few homes, bought and sold, fixed up. I think every single home we have bought. We understand through our learning experience what can be done. Consider this, let me put you in contact with somebody. And because we're able to see a vision apart from what's shown at that moment, that we can maybe help walk you through that.
Yeah.
If you're like, this is where I want to live, like the couple I'll bring it back to, I was able to walk them through that house and say, okay, let's change. Have you thought about changing this? Have you thought about maybe, this option, because you love where you are and you want to love where you live.
It's also how you get good deals. We have clients right now that have a firm deal on a home, and we walked it, and it's a townhouse, and they knew that was the complex they wanted to live in. It's walking distance from their old place. So they wanted to stay in this very specific neighborhood. This one came up. We went and saw it the day it came available. and it was the right layout, and it's not in the best shape, but they got a tremendous deal on it, especially as we're heading into an ascending market right now. They got a tremendous deal on it. They're doing a nice renovation on it, and it's going to be the home they want in the neighborhood they want, and it's going to be beautiful inside when they're done this renovation. So if you can go in with an open mind, that's how you end up. The dream home that you've planned for forever either happens one of two ways, one of three ways, let's say. One is you get super lucky and your dream home becomes available and you buy it. Two is you go build a house, which is extremely expensive. We all know that, but it's a great option if you're looking for something super custom. And the third is you buy the house in the neighborhood you know you want to be in, and you make it the home you want to live in.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about searching for homes, looking for the right neighborhood, and then building or renovating the home that fits your needs, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you, learn more about what you're looking for, set up your automated search for you, and help you find your next place.